You go by
Hey guys,
Rob.
how's it going? Rob here with McDojoLife. I'm on the show today with a gentleman I actually just recently discovered, but I really, really enjoy his stuff. I think it's really well put together and really well thought out. It's Icy Mike over from Hard2Hurt. How's it going, man?
What's up, man? How are you?
Life is good. Life is good. Living the dream, one day at a time. But yeah, I stumbled across your stuff, and I have to say I really, really enjoy it. And just in case anybody out there doesn't know, pretty much, can you explain what it is that your channel does on YouTube and how you work it?
So basically, it's a bunch of bullshit. No, what it started out as, I thought what I was going to do was self-defense tutorials, and like, I thought I was going to do fitness tips, and I was going to be real dry, basically like fight tips without the 2.5 million subscribers. I thought that that's what I was going to do. And then I was like, first of all, I'm not, in the words of the legendary Derek Lewis, I'm not all that technical and all that, and secondly, it wasn't fun for me. So now my channel, we do some comedy. I do some parodies of some famous martial arts YouTubers, but basically I do train and compete in combat sports, but I care a little more about self-defense. I think I have a little more to offer there. So the idea is we've taken some of the concepts and the techniques and the things that we do from combat sports and apply them to a street or self-defense situation, and or figure out how they wouldn't work in a street or self-defense situation.
Yeah, definitely. That's the kind of stuff that I really enjoy. You did a video. It was one of the first ones I stumbled across, which is what made me kind of dig deeper into the page. And the video was in a parking lot, and it was talking about basically taking the back from a standing position with the thoughts of having a firearm in play. And you wind up talking about which side to go to, why it's important. And I loved that breakdown. That was very technically correct, not just correct, but it was also thoughtful, because it was like, well, there's a lot of what ifs that come into play in this situation. You were able to cover quite a bit of them, able to go over an easy takedown, a very simple takedown that doesn't require a lot of skill. It's something that most people could probably pick up. And, if you train it like a couple weeks or so, you probably get that down if you're able to get that position. Obviously, consistent training is more important than one technique, but I thought that the way that you did that was really well done. And so I started going back down the rabbit hole of your page, and I noticed that you were doing parodies and stuff like that. So who are some of the martial artists that you've done parodies of? So
it started with Master Wong and Ramsey Dewey. They had a little bit of a budding of bald heads, as I say, over rear naked choke defense. And I was watching both videos, and I was like, I can do a Master Wong impression. I was like, I think I could do Ramsey Dewey. That one's pretty easy. I was like, it'd be funny if I did a video doing impressions of him. And that was going to be a one-off. I just thought it was funny. And honest to goodness, this from doing social media, I was just trying to soak up some of that algorithm. I was just trying to be in there. As people were looking at that, I just wanted to be in there. And I actually intended to show some rear naked choke defense stuff. And then my training partner, my coach, never showed up that day. So, but I knew I had to ship that video because it was like going on. So I just shipped the video, and it just was basically a comedy video. And people were like, do more, do more, do more. And I was like, this is tough. So I did Jesse Enkamp, the karate nerd. Yeah. And I did Rokas Leonovevich, the Aikido guy. The Aikido guy, and Lenny Fly. I did a video on them. They actually had a couple videos where they were talking about each other, and I was hoping that would blow up too. I was just trying to be in there just as the disruptor. I like to instigate shit. But I think they're friends. I think they're a little more friendly. I did Quan Kicker, but he's a friend of mine, so that was like all in love. I did a Quan Kicker parody. And in that parody, I actually was trying to show like real technique, like an actual thing that you would do. I was trying to make a real tutorial, but just did it as Quan Kicker. Okay. But YouTube's funny, man. You do a video where you're talking shit about somebody or tearing something apart or breaking something down, and that video will blow up And then you'd be like, hey, here's a way you can like improve your kicks, or here's how to do a squat. And people are like, nah, pass.
Yeah, that's a big problem that I've come into contact with doing McDojoLife is if it doesn't have anything to do with McDojos, people are like, meh, don't really care. And in my opinion, I'm like, fuck you, I'll do what I want. If I want to take a video of me taking a crap in my living room, I'm going to post it just because it's what I feel like posting, which I wouldn't. But, you know.
Yeah. But if you wanted to, you would.
I could. I just would. It's what I do. Do what I want. Crap every day.
Exactly.
Don't film it.
When we do the strength and conditioning videos, like how to get stronger a lot, I hate to say it because I love my viewer base. A lot of them are martial arts, for lack of a better term, nerds. You know, we're all martial arts nerds. And when I tell you, okay, you're going to have to do this many squats, this many times a week for this many years, people are like, I don't want to do that. So those videos don't perform well, but I do them anyway in case there's like one dude out there that's like, man, I want to get stronger. I want my legs to be stronger or whatever. And hopefully it'll help that guy.
Yeah.
So even if that video doesn't do 500,000 views, I'd rather put out a video that does 5,000 views and like, you know, some people get some real help from it.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's funny because like all the people that you were talking about that you've actually done, except for Quan Kicker, he's the only one I haven't interviewed. But people have asked me to. Same thing with the Ninja Tricker guy. People have asked me.
Ninja Trickster.
There you go. Yeah, people have asked me to interview him.
He's on the list too. I can't do that many of those Taekwondo tricks, so I got to do him.
The dude's talented, man. They're all very talented. I think that it's kind of interesting because everybody in the martial arts community seems to think they have the answer. You know, it's like if you talk to a jiu-jitsu guy, they have the answer, and this is the only way. You talk to like a Taekwondo guy, they go, well, this is the answer, and these are all the reasons why. It's funny, even Aikido guys always have like a guy they pull out of the woodwork and go, oh, yeah, well, this is Aikido. And something that I've noticed lately, which is really irritating the shit out of me, is certain arts. Like there's an art that I get all over because it's probably one of the few arts that I think by itself is just a humongous turd without much to offer at all. Even Aikido, like we have a guy at the studio that I train at, and he's a 5th degree black belt in Aikido, but he's also a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And so
you make it work.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because when you're on his back, he's more deadly because of all the wrist locks. So when you start sinking in, like getting under
his hand around, he's going to get that motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. And he's submitted me that way before where he's like, I had like a seatbelt grip where I'm underneath his armpit and then I'm over his neck and I'm holding on and he just wrist locked the shit out of me, but he locked my elbow in so I couldn't go anywhere. I mean, it was nasty. And I was like, oh shit. And he let me know. It was like, yeah, a lot of the wrist lock stuff comes from Aikido. So I get some value out of most martial arts, but there's one called Kyosho Jitsu. And that's the one where it's like, touch spleen 5 and then stomach 6 and then
meridian 6. You poke your finger here. Like, yeah.
And so one of the cult leaders, I call them cult leaders because to me it's the epitome of a cult. His name is Evan Pantrazi, I think it is. And then that dude, man, like he is devout and he's like one of the leaders of this particular art. And it's so ridiculous. Like he's showing like I posted it today. He's showing like jujitsu defenses, like somebody's mounted you and you poke them in the chest and they fall off of you. What are your thoughts on like
grab their flesh and twist their flesh and that'll make them?
Yeah, I think they forget that there's a thing called a post. So like, ow, you hurt my chest, but I still have this free hand to stop you from pushing me off of you. So what are your thoughts about arts like that? I mean, like, I'm not sure what your whole philosophy is on the martial arts in general. I think that it seems to be a good one. Like you have good intentions. What are your thoughts on arts like that?
So the problem is, and this is a thing, and we're probably going to be doing a video on it soon, but I think you'll appreciate this. A lot of people say it's not the art, it's the practitioner. And that can be true, but that's not always true. Like you said, there are some that are just turds. Yeah. There are just some that it's just not good. And I don't consider myself like this guru, this expert or anything. I'm just a student and a researcher. And we just have so much information available to us now that we didn't have even 10 years ago, but especially not 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Yeah. There's so much data on what works and what doesn't and what happens and what doesn't happen. You know, you still got Aikido masters waving around their Kubotans, hanging out at the gun store counter, talking about how they would do this and this and that and this. And it's like, but that's never happened. You could spend more of your time training wild overhand right haymakers. And statistically speaking, that has a greater track record than all that other stuff. When we did the Aikido video, when I parodied Rokas and Lenny Sly, I said, hey, you know, I'm open-minded. Just like show me the real shit. Because whenever, like there was a recent Aikido guy that went into a MMA gym and got smashed instantly.
Yeah, I interviewed that guy. I interviewed the guy who slapped the dog shit out of him. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem with that particular guy, not to interrupt in any way, but just to give some context to anybody who doesn't know about that, there was a guy who was an Aikido guy. He claimed to be Aikido anyway, and said that Aikido had more of the required skill set for self-defense than Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And he said that basically Aikido was a better art, and that, you know, he would be able to beat people who did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And most of his videos where he would do tutorials, he made fun of Jiu-Jitsu up and down. Not even like politely. But then he went into a MMA gym for a sparring match, and he got the dog shit slapped out of him. I mean, that was a hell of a shot.
Yeah.
And
not
then
competitive.
But yeah, that's ridiculous.
But when I asked in my video, I said, hey, because whenever that happens, a bunch of the community from Aikido or whatever martial art it is, whether it was Kung Fu or Hapkido or whatever it is, a lot of that community will pile on and say, well, that wasn't real Aikido. We do the real Aikido. So that guy, or the guys that Zhu Xiaodong beats, there'll be other Kung Fu guys. It's like, well, that's not real Kung Fu. Let me show you the real Kung Fu. So I put up the video and said, show me the real shit. I want to see it. Show me the real Aikido. I'm totally interested in seeing it. And it was like, I got like 2 or 3 videos over and over and over again. And the point that I always make is like, imagine if I said, show me some video of wrestling working. It'd be like, just Google wrestling. Like, it's not even that it's close. It's not even like Taekwondo would be kind of borderline. Like Taekwondo would be situational, and it works in its own sport, and it works in MMA, and it theoretically could work in a self-defense situation, and you could find evidence of it. Someone could make a case. It's not even close with some of these, like boxing. There's videos of boxers just tagging like multiple dudes, you know, if boxing doesn't work in a street fight. But it's just ridiculous in this day and age with how much data we have, and just like on your page where you're just like, hey, look, there's irrefutable evidence of what is real and what is not. Mm-hmm. It's just like, you notice everyone kind of stopped talking about UFOs and Bigfoot and stuff after everyone started carrying around smartphones, you know, because it would have showed up by now.
I mean, everything is on film nowadays, but that's also kind of the point of the martial arts community, is most of it's on film. Like some of my favorite stuff are like stories from the dojo where some random dude walks into the gym and it becomes like a big fish story, you know, and everybody's sharing and passing that story around. Nowadays, those videos get sent to me. And I just got sent one today of this guy who said he was just trained in the death arts. And he showed up and challenged this animal of an MMA fighter and brought his students. And in the entire video, you can just see all of his students collapsing and getting taken down and getting their backs taken while he's getting the dog shit beat out of him in the background. Like it's pretty ridiculous. It must be fresh because it just got sent to me today.
Yeah, I've seen that one. And I'm like you. I'm on top of this shit. You know, yeah. People send me a lot of that stuff. I try to stay in my lane because there's guys like you, and there's pages that do that I'd say do it better. I was originally. Are you familiar with Elgin Intensity? He's a fitness YouTuber.
No.
He does. He roasts. Basically, he just takes videos of gym fails and just roasts people. You know. And I originally wanted to do like that for martial arts, but then I found that there were a lot of pages that did that a little better. So that I kind of found my lane by going, oh, I kind of want to do this. Oh, there's already a guy that does that. Oh, I kind of want to do this. Oh, there's already a guy that does that.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up where I am.
That's why I don't do tutorials. You know, like people always ask me, let me see what you do. You always talk shit about all these people. Let me see what you got to do. I was like, well, you know what? Every time I post something to me, people don't give a shit. They tell me to stop posting myself.
Yeah,
I'm like, no one cares what I have to do. You want to see me jab cross a bag? Like, how boring is that shit? Yeah. You want me to give you advice on your rear naked choke? Like, all that stuff exists from people who are way better than me at that. Go watch that stuff. Somebody did ask a question, though. Let me see here. Kai Hawatari. If I said your name wrong, I suck. He said, Icy Mike, what's your favorite MMA move?
I'm a big fan of the fake glove touch to overhand right to double leg. That's my favorite. That's my favorite.
It's kind of a dick move, man.
I'm not saying I would do it, but it's my favorite to see it happen.
That's funny.
Purely from a fan standpoint, favorite MMA move. I do like seeing like underutilized stuff. Like I like seeing karate style footwork. We've talked about this, Rob. People think because I do stuff where I shit on traditional martial arts that I hate it. And if you've watched any of my matches or any of my sparring, you'd be like, that guy's doing karate. Like I use karate style footwork and movement.
Yeah. I
shit on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I shit on wrestling. I shit on boxing. I shit on everything on my channel.
Well, I mean, I think that's a fair way to do it. If you're not gonna be at least self-deprecating sometimes, then there's no point of doing any of this because it kind of removes your legitimacy. You know, like
you're not credible if you're one of those my style is the best style guys.
Yeah,
you're probably full of shit.
Yeah,
even the two guys that I really really appreciate and follow, Ryan Hoover and Eli Knight. And I parodied them as well. And I've gone to their seminars and trained with them. They're very, each of them has kind of a very particular art and skill set that they're kind of an expert in. And even they'll tell you, like, no, you need to know how to do this other stuff too. You know?
Yeah, Eli Knight's awesome. Awesome. I really love his stuff. I also follow Brandon McCart. He's one of 10th Planet guys, but he's really, really talented. I think that what he's talented in more than anything else is he's very good instructor. So his directions are very clear. So it's almost like you can just watch the video and go, oh, I got that now. I understand what you're saying. I love that.
Yeah, I've trained with Eli a few times, and it's very similar. He explains things in a way that you're like, oh. First of all, he starts talking, and he's a second degree black belt. And I think one of the big jumps from first degree to second degree black belt is a first degree black belt has these amazing like techniques and can explain them and teach them. And then second degree black belt, they start to get into like these very like more loftier principles, I think. And he starts talking and I'm like, I don't fucking know anything. Like when he starts talking, I'm like, I know nothing about anything. But then by the time he's done talking, you're like, oh my God. Like you feel like your game multiplied like by 100.
I am curious though, since we're talking about different martial artists and stuff like that, do you have like maybe some top martial artists that you really respect in their teachings and trainings and things like that?
But besides those two guys, like currently who I'm looking into now, like right now, I'm trying to focus on jiu-jitsu. So Eli Knight is probably, as far as YouTube and online martial arts guys, that's probably the guy I'm most into right now. I just recently attended a seminar with a guy named Ryan Brinkman, he's a small guy and he's a second degree black belt. And again, my mind just exploded. He helped me a lot. As far as like more famous guys, people always say, you know, who's your favorite fighter? I think if you ask most fighters who their favorite fighter is, not even the small ones, but especially the small ones, they'll all say Frankie Edgar, you know. And then I was always a big fan of Mike Zambiti. It's just all the little guys that didn't shy away from fighting big guys. Obviously, me being somewhat of a diminutive person, that speaks to me. But
you like Jens Pulver?
Yeah, I'm not a big. I've followed a lot of Jens Pulver thing. Jens Pulver actually, I think this is public, so I don't think I'm breaking anything. He's actually about to be involved in some capacity with street beefs, which is kind of like crazy.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that's nuts. Street beefs is like blowing up. Yeah. But Jens Pulver recently has started messaging with them, and I think he's actually going to appear at one of their events.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations for him, man. I always like seeing guys who were like had careers in the MMA scene when it was young, make it later on, because guys nowadays, once they hit that echelon of UFC, Bellator and stuff like that, they kind of have made the way for their career to advance after that. But guys back in the day, they were fighting for pennies. You know, they weren't going to have another career. Yeah.
A lot of them are like selling houses or, you know, working at bars and stuff now. You know, they didn't have that contingency plan for afterwards.
Yeah, they really destroyed themselves for the sport and the art too, man. It's pretty crazy. I will say one guy that really surprises me was actually Jens Pulver's instructor, really famous gym. I'm trying to remember his name and I cannot for some reason. It's killing me. Anytime I ever try to like draw names in quickly, it never works out.
Yeah, I'm really bad.
Pat Miletich. Pat
Miletich fighting system, yeah.
Super famous gym, you know.
Yeah, he's still doing well.
Yeah, he's I think he's a commentator now for one of the MMA promotions out there. I don't remember which one it is, but he's also like real heavy and to try to just further and advance his career in all kinds of different ways. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Dom Wilkin, he said, in your opinion, what is the highest percentage technique in a street fight?
I'm a big proponent. So there's three categories. We talk at range, at clinch, and then on the ground. And each of those three things, I've always said, you talk about high percentage. I think in street fights and self-defense, you don't need a lot of things. You know, you don't need 100 techniques for 100 scenarios. You need like 10 techniques for like 85% of scenarios. If you can keep your hands up and throw a straight 1-2, you are defeating the vast majority of people in a street fight. Like just people walking around that have not trained. If you can keep your hands up, keep your shit together and not freak out and throw a straight 1-2 down the pipe, you are probably going to hurt. You might not knock them out, even if you don't possess knockout power. But if someone's swinging, you throw 1-2 down the pipe, they'll probably do like this kind of shit or move to clinch. You are already winning if you can keep your punches straight, breathe, and not freak out.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing that you said. I think that's where a lot of arts fail with the hokey arts, I guess you could say, because they refuse to spar. And when you can't spar, you can't put yourself in a situation of duress. So you don't really know how you'll react because you're not used to the stimulus.
We saw it at Street Beefs a bunch where these dudes, they post videos of them hitting the bag or hitting pads, and they're just like Taekwondo masters, or I call them bag warriors, guys that box but just hit the heavy bag a lot, and they're like strong and fast and they have all these attributes and they might even know the right techniques. And then the second someone's little fist comes at their face, they lose their minds, you know. As far as the clinch, I think just any style of clinch, if you are good at it, everyone's kind of good at a little different thing. Maybe you like a full tie plum, maybe you like an underhook and a collar tie, or an underhook and a cross collar tie, but you just pick one little clinch position that you like a lot. And if you practice it a lot, a guy that doesn't know how to clinch fight will feel like he can't do anything, even though he's got his 2 feet under him, he's got 2 hands free. It just seems like he can't hit you. And on the ground, when I had to take people down, Rob mentioned earlier, we're talking for self-defense purposes. If you're police, security, bouncer, street fight, something like that, I have a video on my channel, which is just a little slap, go behind, just a little duck under to a body lock, to you trip them down. And it won't work super well on a very trained or experienced wrestler, jiu-jitsu player. But guys that don't know how to fight are very – people might take issue with when I say this, if guys that don't know how to fight are kind of predictable to an extent. Now, there is some truth that guys that don't know how to fight do weird shit that you can't prepare for. But you put 9 rats in a maze – you put 10 rats in a maze and 9 of them are going to do the same thing. And so guys are pretty predictable. You throw straight punches at their face, they turn away. If you grab their elbow, they do like this. They'll give you their back. But I think for self-defense and street fighting, you should drill very, very high percentage stuff. You don't need to have any fancy, barambolos and fancy, you don't need to spin. You don't need to do all this weird stuff. So I'm straight down the pipe. You get to a clinch you like, have one takedown that you're real good at, and that's probably it. I'd rather somebody drill that 1,000 times and be able to defend themselves against 95% of people walking the planet rather than train in a bunch of shit for 10 years to get those last 5% of people. Because beyond a certain point, you're only training to fight other people who train how to fight. And if those people are not mugging each other or robbing people or attacking you in the street.
Yeah, they're too busy training.
Yeah.
They got shit to do. Class is at 7, damn it. I got to be there. I can't mug you right now. I'll be back at 10.
My instructor will get mad at me if I get locked up for fighting in a bar.
This is something that's interesting to me. I want to know your take on it. So, I'm sure that your comment section is just like everybody else's comment section, which is a giant shit show of people who are either hating, don't know what the fuck they're talking about, didn't watch the entire video or take things out of context. Pretty much, I think I got most of it. And then every once in a while you get like people who praise you. Yeah, man, thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm like, look, I praise those people. Thank you for saying thank you to me. What do you think about that? What do you think about the comment section, man?
So, I hate to brag. No, I love to brag, as long as it's true. My comment section, I think, is better than most. I've spent a lot of time on YouTube. I've read a lot of comments. My comment section is overwhelmingly positive.
Oh, awesome.
Like, really overwhelmingly positive. Now, I still have all those guys you talked about. The ones that crack me up are the guys that don't know what they're talking about. They don't bother me because you can read their comment and right away. You can tell by the words in their comment. My standard reply is I'll rephrase their comment and I'll work in the phrase bag of sand. You remember from 40-Year-Old Virgin when he said feels like a bag of sand?
Yeah, I got you.
I call those bag of sand comments because in that comment you can tell right away they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But the ones where they didn't actually watch the video, that blows my mind. I'm like, what's going on in a person's mind where they're like, click a video, watch 13 seconds, and they're like, negativity. Like, why do they want to do that? I did a video on all the I did a video on all the non-standard hand strikes besides punches. So we talked about palm strikes, knife hands, ridge hands, all that sort of thing. Praying mantis strikes. We talked about all that in the video. In the video, I said palm strikes are a super legit way to hurt a person. Boss Rutan used to knock people out with palm strikes all the time.
Used to knock people out with liver shots too with palm strikes, which is pretty impressive.
I said that in the video. I said that palm strikes were cool and that Boss Rutan used to knock people out with them. I said, but I don't train them, so I don't feel super comfortable using them. You should, if you're going to use them, you got to train them. And if you don't train them, you shouldn't use them, vice versa.
Yeah.
So many people commented on the video wherein I said palm strikes are cool. Boss Rutan used to knock people out with them. I got comments. Try telling Boss Rutan palm strikes don't work. He used to knock people out with them. I got that comment so many times. And I'm like, what video did you watch? But so sometimes I engage with them. My wife told me I have to stop engaging with them after the couple of street beefs debacles where I actually ended up in real life fist fights over online commenting. My wife said, no, you need to be a little more nuanced in your approach and not so personal. And you need to grow up a little bit, especially as the channel now has grown. I can't spend every minute like Ted from Minnesota, me telling me I don't know how to fight.
Fuck you, Ted. Ted from Minnesota, if you're listening, fuck you.
Ted.
My go-to is Steve. I always imagine whoever's on the other side being an asshole is Steve. It's just that Steve name.
That's how Robin Black always calls the assholes in his breakdown Steve. He's like, hey, we got another Steve.
I guess it's just the name. So if you're out there and you're a cool guy named Steve, you're the only one, because apparently most everyone else is a dick.
I used to hate guys named Seth.
Oh,
I always thought Seth. But now I've met Sensei Seth, who's on Instagram, and he sort of he's a guy that sort of blew up with the bottle cap challenge thing. And I think his claim to fame, he did a crazy kick the bottle up off the Wave Master thing. And he, one of those type of things. And he blew up on Instagram. And then I actually met him in real life, and his name is Seth. And I told him he's the first Seth I've ever met. That's cool. But other than him, Seth, guy's name's Seth. I'm like,
he's got a little gross sticky feeling to it after you say it. Let's see here. Somebody else. First of all, that's right. El Guapo. That's right.
Guapo.
El Guapo.
Wrong move. Don't do that to El Guapo.
You hit him bong, bing, da da ding, da da ding.
Don't you ever do this.
Pause written man. Somebody was commenting on best technique ever is run. I have to disagree with this.
Oh, yes, I'm glad we got that.
Yeah, so I disagree with the best technique is run because it's the
I agree with your disagreement.
Yeah, it's the first option, but when you're dealing with techniques, you're dealing with something that means that the altercation is started. So if I turn my back and I run away from somebody, there's all kinds of things that could go wrong. One, I can no longer see them. And to me, in an altercation, that's very dangerous. Somebody picks up some shit, throws it at you, trying to hit you. It may hurt you worse than a punch would have. And you're getting hit and exposed in the back of the head. They may be faster than you. And now when they do catch up to you, they will grab you from behind. And now you're really fucked because now they have a dominant position, won the altercation. Now that we've engaged, now they're starting from a dominant position. And the other thing is, what makes you think that you will have the ability to run? And most likely scenarios, think about it. Where do fights usually happen? In open fields where you were just chilling, and then all of a sudden the sound of music starts playing and you bump shoulders.
Lots of warning. Hey, I'm gonna walk over there and attack you in 5 seconds.
Fights from what I've seen in my 22 years of experience in the game are usually happening in places where there are people. And running is much more difficult than you think when there's a crowd of people. If you're in a bar and people have been drinking, you're not running out of there unless you're by the door, or unless you don't care that you're going to push and shove and hurt other people on your way out. Or what happens if they also have friends and or homies? If you're a school kid, hands down, if you're in school, what's the first thing that happens before you get into an altercation with another kid? But 9 times out of 10, there's a verbal confrontation, and then there's a big circle of people and they're all chanting one thing. Fight. Right. So this isn't like, I'm not making this shit up. This is just how shit works for some reason. We have a very odd culture, and that's how it goes. So I don't think that running is the best technique. Now, I think that running is an available option, right? But so is violence. Violence is an available option. Or if you're a really good fucking talker, you might be able to talk your way out of this shit. But once the altercation is started, it's a little late for you, homie. It's late for that. Now, I will say, just to add a little note to that, and then I'll let you take it away, Mike. But I will say one thing that is true. I think once a weapon has come into play, now that's a little bit more of an option. Now you need to really think about that as an option, or you should be running to find a bigger, better weapon, in my opinion. You're not just running away, but you're running to find a weapon, because most likely if someone's pulled a knife on you, they've already intended to kill you with it. So they will take you. So
pretty clear at that point. Running, I agree with everything that you said. I was working on a video about this very thing when I sprained my ankle a few months back. And then we were going to be doing a lot of running in the video, and I just never got around to finishing it. And then now the video would look fucking weird because my beard is really long now, and I can't cut the video together. The thing about run, and you hit the nail on the head. It requires you, the guys that'll tell you just run are the same guys that would try to tell you that size and strength and physical attributes shouldn't matter. The entire solution of running is predicated on a physical attribute, like me being faster than him. Well, hell, if I'm faster than him, I might also be like stronger and better at fighting. If he's stronger and better at fighting than me, then he can probably outrun me too. Now, there's exceptions, if I'm lighter and faster and he's just a big tough guy, maybe I can outrun him. But we ran this experiment where the person even knew I had a pool noodle, and we had different distances and whether they were facing us or not facing us. And I would come running after the person. And once they decided there was a threat, they could take off running. And dude, we got each other like every time. Every time we got each other with that pool noodle, because The only, and this speaks to that you need to train this sort of thing. We only stopped getting tagged with the pool noodle when we ignored it, when we turned and literally sprinted. Because what happens when you go to run from danger, this is what we found out in our experimenting. I turn to run from the pool noodle, and I'm still like worried about the pool noodle, right? And I don't just turn and sprint. I turn and try to like, a pool noodle, and that causes me to get tagged with it every time. But yeah, you can't always run. Running is an option. And I like what you said about the weapon, because running as an option kind of sucks. When someone introduces a weapon, there's no good options left. You're looking for the least shitty option. So running definitely is better there, unless you are a super high level grappler and wrestler and you know you can get a hold of that knife, but you can't run away for whatever reason. Like, running is so situational, and people throw it out there. Just run. And anytime people throw out a technique or a solution where they say just blank, you can tell it's not thought out and there's no training involved, because you can't just shoot them, just run, just don't be an asshole, just, like.
Don't be an asshole is usually a good option. But
yeah.
But yeah.
But I agree with you completely about running. I think it's important to understand that sometimes running away is a good option. But just to think, well, I can run pretty fast, so that's just what I'm going to do, that's not always going to work.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, I really appreciate you adding that into the conversation, Alan. Like, we're not bashing you or anything like that. It's just a good conversation to have, and I think that it's important that that is brought up. So thank you, Alan, for bringing that up.
And I think, and to Alan, I think the guys that say that are closer to the truth than the guys that are not saying that. We're all looking for the truth. No one knows the 100% answer for every scenario. It's too dynamic. A guy like that says you should run, he's probably more right than the guys like, you should train for 15 years to become a flawless martial artist that can't be beat by any human with any weapon. But some guys think that that's what they are.
Yeah, and that's not.
The guy that thinks just run, you're probably going to survive more shit than I'm not going to name martial arts on your page. If this was my page, I would just say martial arts. I'm going to be a little more diplomatic here. The guys that say just run are probably closer to the truth than the guys that say that their specific style of martial art can defeat any situation.
Yeah, and Stephen Curtin added a little thing that we didn't even discuss. It didn't even cross my mind, but he said, what if your girlfriend/wife and or kids are with you? You can't really just run away and hope they can keep up with you. That's also a very good point. If you're dealing with protecting people other than yourself, well, I mean, shit, that throws that option right out the window as well.
Absolutely. We did a recent video on ground and pound for self-defense. And if for your viewers that aren't familiar with my channel, generally I do what's called soft clickbait. So like the video is like ground and pound for self-defense, which on its face sounds ridiculous. But then in the video, we explain why. And that's a perfect example. I recently ran a seminar for runners. It was runner specific self-defense and some of the considerations and, tactics, how to avoid, when the car passes you. It was a lot of situational awareness stuff. You see a car and then you see the car again, you see a car a third time, you're already in a fight, that sort of thing. But one woman said, well, I push a stroller, and she was like, what do I do? And I was like, you train martial arts for 15 years and become really good at fighting, like there's not. So Steve is absolutely right. Like there will be a time where it's just not an option. If I have 3 with me, one of them can run and can kind of fight, the other one could run and one of them, she's 2, she can't do shit. She's going to be useless in that scenario.
I mean, you could always grab the baby and hit the person with the baby. And now I
did a video on that. I actually did a video on using your child as a weapon.
That's funny.
Go Google that. When this stream is over, go look up how to use your child as a weapon. I did one.
Toss them at the knife attacker.
Well, through it, the child wraps their arms. You know, you wrap the baby around their head, and then you can, you know, fight.
That's hilarious. That's great. I definitely will check that out. It's kind of interesting. Like when we talk about reality-based self-defense, this always seems to be kind of the out for fake martial artists. It's the out to get away from sparring. And what I mean by that is typically the question is, which I think both scenarios are honestly wrong, but it's just my opinion. Typically what will happen is someone will show bullshit. Someone will call out said bullshit. But rather than calling it out and saying, this is wrong because of X, Y, and Z, they say, this is wrong. You should fight me and we should see if it works. Well, one, you're a dick because you don't need to fight absolutely everybody because they are incorrect. I mean, 1 + 1 is 3. Do you need to punch me in the face to prove that it's 2? No, you don't. You can just say 1 + 1 is 2 just to correct you. But then the opposite happens. Rather than the other person falling down on logic, they always double down on stupid. And then their rebuttal, 9 times out of 10, is, hey, you would use that sport crap. I would be adding bites, eye gouges, ripping out your throat, hitting you in the groin. What they fail to think about is that, yes, you can do all of those things, but the trained the trained fighter knows all of the trained fighter's techniques and skill sets, but can also do those dirty things. What are your thoughts on that?
It's been done, and what sucks about it is it's sort of a preaching to the choir thing. There's those of us that know that, and then a group of guys that seems like they can never know that. Like they just can't. What needs to happen, and I used to bang it out in the comments. I used to be like, all right, come on, you can eye gouge me, you bite me, whatever, you can do it to me. I promise you, when I go to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach and I roll with brown belts, black belts, even high level purple belts, I promise that me biting or eye gouging them is not going to end well for me. They're not going to suddenly let go of what they had. They're going to be doing it from a dominant position. You know, they're going to be doing it with greater speed and ferocity and tenacity. And you nailed it. They don't want to spar. They don't want to believe that wrestling is the best way to get someone onto the ground. They don't want to believe that wrestling is also the best way to stay off the ground. You know, that you learn, this is what I always say, how to fight on the ground, how to stay off of the ground, and how to get up from the ground. You learn all that shit from the same guy. The same guy teaches you how to do all that. They always say, well, you're going to elbow them in the spine, or you're going to put a thumb in their eye, and then they can't do anything. Like, no, now they're just mad. They're really going to, maybe they were going to take you down and hold you down and maybe punch you a couple times. Now they're going to try to do what you just did to them.
There are 2 amazing videos out. They're my favorite. One is Joe Rogan discussing or talking with Bas Rutten. And Bas
That's
Rutten
exactly, this conversation,
Yeah, and he was like,
do it to me. Do it to me. I want you to do it to me. You don't think I can fight without rules?
He was like, you got a guy in a rear naked choke, and the guy was like, what are you going to do? He's like, I'll just eye gouge you. And Bas Rutten whispered in his ear, okay, well, I'm going to get started. Oh, by the way, as soon as you put your thumb in my eye, I'm going to break your fucking neck. All right, ready. And the guy freaked out. And then there's Draculino. Do you follow Draculino at all?
Yeah.
So
actually, funny story about the Draculino grip. You know what I mean? Where you from the Kimura where you grab the belt and the gi and pull it through.
I don't. I'd have to see it. I have to see it.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. I'll tell you that story in a minute.
But Draculino has an amazing video because he tested it. People were always like, yeah, if you get me in a triangle choke, I'm just going to bite you and that'll get me out of it. And so he gets a dude sunk into a triangle choke and he's like, bite me. And he just sits there. He doesn't defend. He doesn't move. He doesn't try to stop the guy from biting him. But you realize that when you have a sunken triangle choke, the arm is across one side of your neck. The leg is across the other side of your neck. And so your teeth are above where you can bite. Yeah. And so you can't bite.
Or maybe you could bite yourself.
You can bite your own arm. You can bite your shoulder. If it wasn't buried into your neck, you know.
When I first started, I didn't know shit about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I would go to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class and I would roll, and I knew a little bit about wrestling. I knew a little bit. I was like a one stripe white belt. I actually thought I invented the Draculino grip. He has a certain grip he uses, it's just a weird, like, you get them in a Kimura and then you reach through and pull their gi or their belt over their hand.
Okay.
And I thought I invented that. I did it by accident, and then I started like doing it. I even did a tutorial on it and didn't know that it was already like a well-known thing. And people were like, "Yeah, dude, just search." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." But I thought as a two-stripe white belt that I had invented this amazing thing.
Hey man, it's still good. There's nothing wrong with it. That's kind of the interesting thing.
Used it, but it was just funny to me that I thought I was like changing the game with this thing.
I've reinvented the wheel. This is how it will be done from here on out. Like Keenan Cornelius will come out with like a new guard every couple years or so. Next thing you know, like he just did worm guard is now a big thing through him and stuff like that. And it's a lot of geek, but
a lot of those guys though, I always caution people, especially when I get a lot of like Instagram messages and YouTube comments and stuff from people who I can tell are sort of like starting out in martial arts.
Yeah.
And they're like looking at the wrong dudes.
Yeah.
Like if you follow now Keenan Cornelius, amazing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu content with these crazy guards, but like guys at that level can make anything they want to work. Mm. So it's like, I'm going to become a really crazy worm guard player. And it's like, dude, you need to learn how to shrimp.
You can't bridge. Why don't you do one of those?
Yeah. Like you're over here working on your De La Hiva guard and you can't escape mount, there's levels to it, and that one of the things I try to do on my channel is keep it at a level where like a guy who maybe is a hobbyist, maybe he's getting started, maybe he's an old guy that doesn't get to train a lot. I try to keep it at that level, like, hey, here's simple, high percentage shit you can do. Because sometimes, especially the higher level dudes, they're looking at it through this lens of like, oh man, and then I would invert and then I would do this. And it's like, yeah, but I can't do any of that. I need like basic shit. And they're like, well, do the basic shit. And I was like, well, there's a little gap in between like basic shit and then like awesome shit when it comes to online content.
Yeah.
And I want to see more content from more people in the middle.
Yeah, like more like chaining things together a little bit.
Yeah, so I know my punches and I know the basic combos. So then let's start talking about angles and positioning and footwork. That doesn't get a lot of exposure in online content.
I always try to encourage people when it comes to how, because like, you just said something that is kind of interesting to me, is a lot of people spend a lot of money right off the bat when they first start training. They'll buy the coolest gi, like a brand new shoulder roll that was like $350. They'll buy like all the tutorial video DVDs or the downloadable now content and stuff like that. I try to encourage people, don't spend more money than you've spent hours. Each dollar you spend, you should have spent that many hours on the mat before you purchase that thing. If you're going to buy a $300 shoulder roll, you should have probably spent about 300 hours on the mat. And if you haven't, don't buy that.
When a dude shows up to sparring and his gloves, shin guard, and headgear all match, I know he's about to get his ass kicked. His shit's all brand new. He's gonna get his ass kicked. Now, when a guy shows up and he's got like 2 different shin guards and his gloves smell really bad, and he doesn't know where his mouthpiece is, I'm like, that guy probably can fight.
Yeah, don't encourage anyone. Please take care of your gloves. I hate sparring the guy with the stinky gloves. That shit never comes out. Every time you get hit, like the stink rubs off on your face. Don't be that guy. Take care of your gear.
Yeah.
But I do know what you mean. Like it was the opposite when I did sport karate on sport karate circuits. You could always tell who was going to be in the finals because they were always sponsored. And so like when you lined up, you could
that level, yeah.
you look because they line you up on the same mat on the edge of the mat, and they had the fighters meeting. And so you're looking to the left and looking to the right, and you can just see the one kid who's about to shit his pants. You're like, oh, I drew him first round. I'm sorry, buddy. And then you look over and you're like, oh God, I drew the guy in the next round who's like sponsored 5 times
he's
over.
Like unwrapping. He's like unwrapping shit to put it on like it's brand new.
We're like, who am I sponsored by today? All right, fuck it, just hand me the gear. Let's go. Oh God. But yeah, we've been on for a really long time. Actually, been on for like a solid 50 minutes. So I appreciate your time, man. And I do like to wrap up with two things. I always like to wrap up with at least one question and then allow you to shout your stuff out. But I always love stories from the dojo. I am a big fan of that stuff. It's stuff that happens only in the dojo. It wasn't probably recorded. It wasn't filmed. Probably nobody knows about it. 9 times out of 10, they happen when you were like kind of by yourself in the studio cleaning, or like it was a class and some weirdo shows up that you've never seen. I love that kind of stuff, whether it be funny or whether it was educational or whether it was a learning experience or a bad experience. I'm sure that you've been training for a while. You probably have at least one of those. So I was wondering if you had anything off the top of your head that's like a story from the dojo that might not have a lot of exposure for a lot of people to know about, but it's something that you know about.
So for me, when you talk about like guys showing up, they're like, martial arts is a weird thing. Like it just, and maybe this is true for all things. And the vast majority of martial artists I meet are super cool dudes, but I don't know, just occasionally this flame attracts a weird little moth that, you know, just shows up. And what's weird for me now with YouTube is I do have some people that just show up and they're not here to train and they just show up to say hi, which is totally cool. You know, I always take some time. I say hi, I say, hey, what's up? I'm like, I try to get the waiver out and you know, ask, do you have your gear and stuff like that? But they're not here to train. The weirdest thing that happens here, in my studio, the majority of my business, let me tell you something. I'll tell you a secret. You want to talk about stories from the dojo? If you want to own your own dojo, this is not how you're going to pay your bills, right?
Truth.
This is how you pay your bills and your kids program, right? So the weirdest thing I have happen is I have like moms and stuff in here, like chicks getting their fitness on, and I'll have like dudes standing outside the window, like watching
Weird.
work out. And so a couple times I've had to go like, yo, dude, and it almost always goes well. But I had this one dude one time. I was like, yo, hey, you need to move along, and he's like, yeah, okay. And I was like, no, you like go, like keep moving. But I've had a few dudes. I'm lucky here. I've never had anyone show up for like a dojo store. Everyone I've had show up to train has been cool. Had a karate guy in here Sunday that was a really cool guy. He was like 6.5 feet tall, gave me fits, but didn't come here to beat me up or anything like that. The weirdest one I ever had, I had a guy at another gym I trained at. We were going like 20%. I had a fight on that Saturday and we were training on Wednesday. And I shouldn't have been sparring.
Yeah, usually
I know that before your commenters are like, well, what the hell are you doing sparring on Wednesday if you got a fight on Saturday?
Yeah.
But this guy, he said, don't worry, man, I'm not very good. And I was like, oh, shit, that's worse. That's worse. And we were going really light, really easy. And then for whatever reason, I don't know if why this guy did this, or I think he kind of knew who I was or what the deal was. 30 seconds left in the round. He does a full force spinning back fist, breaks my nose and knocks me unconscious.
Oh shit.
And then proceeds to talk shit about me on the internet for months.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And I never, that's one of the things I regret. I never handled that situation in whatever way. Even if it was just saying, hey man, we need to talk. That's not cool. Or if it was me like handling that situation.
Yeah.
You know, I just never addressed it. It burns me up to this day.
Yeah, that's a bitch, dude. So you were sparring just like light because it was fight week. So if you're going to spar at all,
I was trying to move around and he just needed a partner, you know?
Wow. And that's so strange.
With 30 seconds left, like the 30-second warning went off and then it was like, you know?
Holy shit. That is so crazy. Yeah. And so have you talked to that guy since or heard of him since?
See him all the time.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird, super weird situation. I don't know what it was all about.
Man, like, well, I hope that you're able to at least talk that out or hash it out or handle it, whatever. It sounds like it still irritates you now. So
It's just weird. It never made any sense. And then actually, he's been super cool and nice to me since then. But just spent a bunch of time talking shit about me on the internet of knocking me unconscious.
yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I think as martial artists, we all like to say leave your ego at the door, but I think we all have some ego, But you know, when it comes to it, like I think I'd have a hard time not wanting to find this dude and just drop his ass for that shit. It's bullshit.
So the thing is, I train with him at other people's gyms. You know, he doesn't come here to my place. I train other people's gym, so I can't go into someone else's gym.
Yeah.
It's already, because of what I do, it's already kind of super weird when I go to other people's gyms.
It is weird. Now I have a question, because I get this a lot. Like I have before I used to be a gym rat. Like I go to random gyms and train and travel. Whenever I travel, going to random people's gyms, it was never an issue until I started getting a following. And there's not too many people I can actually relate this to, so it's good that you're on. But you know, now when I go into people's gyms, I have to really be careful and very selective about what gyms I go to, because a couple of reasons. One, people think I'm there to call them out, which I personally,
they think there's something more to it than it is. Like, I'm here. I talk shit. That's like I'm entertaining. I'm talking shit when I'm talking shit about people. I'm trying to be entertaining. I'm here to train. When I went and trained with them guys that Fit to Fight that I did parodies of, I didn't even pull my camera out. You know what I mean? I was just there to train.
Yeah, it's so strange. Like, it's either people want to fight you to prove something to themselves, they want to see what you're made of, so they go too hard. Like, I even had a gym I went to. I went to like a Krav Maga class, and I don't know if their intentions were ill or not, so I'm not gonna really call them out. I'm still kind of working that out in my brain. But I had never taken Krav Maga before. I was like, fuck it, I got invited to do it. Let me just see what it's all about. I'd like to learn. Yeah. And so when I got there, we did like, I don't know, it was like 20-minute warm up, and it wasn't like your basic standard, like just getting warm. It was like a workout. And now I was like, I looked at him, I was like, I'm looking at the friend who invited me, and I was like, are the warm-ups usually like this? He goes, no, the warm-ups have never been this hard, ever. And the dude had been there for a couple of years. And I was like, okay. And I started to get the gist.
Rotten in Denmark.
Yeah, man. And all of a sudden I'm like, okay. And what I gathered was they were trying to get me tired, so that way, whenever we got to sparring, that they'd put it on me. But little do they know, the only thing that I really have going for me that I think is probably more advanced than most people, I think I teach very well. I think I'm very articulate and I can teach things very well. The only other thing I got going for me is I have cardio for days, son. One thing that ain't going to happen is you're not going to get me tired. Because when I was kickboxing, my kickboxing coach specifically said, you can lose fights for every reason under the sun. You can lose a fight because the person's better than you. You can lose a fight because you were sick. You can lose a fight because you're injured. There's only one reason you should never lose a fight, because it's the only thing you can control, and that is your cardio. He's like, you should never get tired in a fight, and that'd be the reason. So I've always taken that to heart, and so I always keep my cardio up. So by the time we got to sparring, like, I was good. Like, we were only doing like 3-minute rounds. Like, we got like a minute break in between. I'm like, fuck it, let's go. And just started teeing that ass up, just because like they were being dicks. They were purposely trying to get me tired so they could put it on me. Like,
that's super interesting. It's so weird how I don't want to say, I guess insecure is the only way I can put it. People are about that sort of thing. Like, I had a guy come in Sunday who was a YouTube viewer. He just came in and he wanted to train. We do sparring on Sundays. I went some rounds with him. I didn't know how good he was, but he was very friendly, and we went super light. And I know that there are people who might be in my situation that wouldn't put their shit on and go with someone they don't know. But like you said, I'm picky. I feel like I can get a vibe off of people, what they're trying to accomplish when they come in here. But it is a super weird thing. Like, I don't get that. And you touched on it before, like you saying something that someone disagrees with, and then they want to fight you because of it. Like, first of all, it doesn't prove anything. If I say Aikido sucks, and then Lenny Sly beats the shit out of me, that didn't prove that Aikido was good. That proved that a guy who's 17 times my size and made of muscle with hands the size of my head beat me up. He didn't need an experiment to find that out. Like, people always want to say, why don't you try to fight so-and-so? And I'm like, they probably beat me up. Like, I made a comment. I said, if you have an anime avatar, if you have an anime character as your avatar, you can't fight. And everyone's like, kill that to Israel Adesanya. And I'm like, yeah, okay, he probably beat me up. But you're not Israel Adesanya.
Yeah, but the difference is his anime character is him.
Right, yeah. Someone made one of him.
Yeah, it's like, why are you so... When you get your own avatar that's made of you, then you can talk all the shit you want.
Yeah.
But anyway, the last thing I'd like to do is give you an opportunity. One, I'd like to say thank you so much. Hey, it was really cool talking to you, by the way. I think that it's awesome that you're pretty chill and relaxed with the whole thing. I get a very eclectic group of people that come on in here, so that was cool of you to take the time. And
I appreciate you, man. I really like the McDojoLife page, and I'm a big fan of what you're doing over there. And actually, I didn't get it until there was a post with you and GN from Bunker Tactical, and he kind of made the point that you were doing more than just, like there's other I won't name any other pages, but there's other pages that just share bullshito and just share shit. It's like, hey, look at this funny stuff.
Yeah.
And GN kind of throwing you some love is like, no, this guy's like really trying to do some work in this field. You know what I mean?
I think it's kind of lost sometimes, which is fine. There are definitely people who follow just because they want to laugh at the stuff, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think the success in the page is the fact that it is satire and it's not just a joke. Like there is a point behind this. And so hopefully, doing stuff like this is very, very nice because it allows me to talk to legitimate martial artists who have legitimate careers, who have good thoughts and processes as to why they do what they do. And I am always open just in case anybody wants to talk shit, because I did Master Wong and Ramsey Dewey. I interviewed both of them. And people are like, why'd you interview Master Wong? You would never allow anybody else to come on who was full of shit. I was like, first of all, I don't necessarily know if the guy's full of shit or not. Like, I think that he could probably beat the shit out of most people,
So people, I know that we've run long, but let me tell you my opinion on Master Wong. Master Wong's funny, and people have a problem with that. You know this, I know this. We talked about the difference between a joke and satire. When we do satire, there actually is a point. Like, yeah, I'm dressing up as martial arts YouTubers and I'm saying shit. But if you listen to what I'm saying, there's like a point. There's like a little like thing in there.
Yeah.
Master Wong will fuck somebody up. I promise you. People joke because his character, I guess, is sort of like eccentric.
Yeah.
Watch him move. Watch any of his tutorials. Watch his movements. And GN from Funker Tactical just did some content with him where it was him and a couple other martial artists, and they were just riffing and just showing moves. And then you watch his movement and the way he's explaining stuff, and you're like, he's legit. And then when I watched your episode with him and you hear him talk, you're like, yes, the language barrier thing and the jokes, sometimes that makes people, you miss the forest for the trees. He's got it going on. I really believe that he's a super legit martial artist. He just delivers it in an entertaining way. It's like, don't hate because he figured out a way to make it digestible.
Yeah, and I actually got the chance to meet him, which is why I was able to form a real opinion of him. You have to understand that when you're online and you're a personality, it's a caricature. No matter how much we're trying to be ourselves, there's a little bit of it that has to be amped up. It's a caricature of yourself. And so he does that, and he found his niche. And if you go back and watch his really old shit, he doesn't really do all that as much. So if you go back and watch some of his real original shit, like he found, like fine-tuned what was getting more views and started playing towards that for entertainment. But I have to say, like watching him teach, he teaches in real life nothing like he teaches on his YouTube videos.
I've seen clips and I'm like, yes, he's the real deal.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, I got a chance to meet him, and he put his hands on me, and I have to say, like, the little fucker's strong, dude. He might be a short dude, but he's strong as shit. So I would say, yeah, he probably beat the shit out of most people. Now, like most of us, am I going to get into the cage in UFC and fight these elite level guys who all they do all day is train to fight people? And no, they're going to beat my ass. Of course they're going to win, which is why I love training with those guys, because they do beat me up and they teach me quite a bit because of it. So I think that people are kind of failing. One thing that I think that people are missing in any way, just to rephrase, is that the traditional arts and some of the things that they teach, like respect, discipline, sincerity, honor, integrity, all of those things kind of are getting pushed to the wayside now because everybody is so bro, you know?
Yeah, I want to fight. How about
Yeah.
fight? And he said something. This is what we do here. Wong said it in yours. I'm trying to combine those two things. Like when my kids come here, they all have to say yes sir, no sir to each other. But we are learning Superman punches. We are learning, you know, Thai kicks. You know, but they say yes sir, no sir. They take turns leading warm ups. There's mat etiquette. You know, we talk a lot about how to use this stuff and when to use this stuff and not to do it at school. And they get kicked out if they don't do it at school. I go so far as to make sure I don't let the parents keep track of their equipment for them. It's their job to keep track of their equipment. Just those respect and those values that come from traditional martial arts, but with, hey, let's do some stuff that we've since found is like more applicable and more realistic.
Yeah,
But,
you don't have to lose the integrity of one just to boost the other. It's the same thing with business, though. I think a lot of martial artists think that making money in martial arts is a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to have more students and affect more people. It's not a bad thing to advertise and make, you know, it's just a shame.
If I don't make smart business practices, the doors don't stay open, and then I can't help anybody.
Exactly. It's very hard to help people in a cardboard box. You know, so much easier to help people when you got a little cash to spend. You know, it's just the truth. Money helps people. But on that note, I will say, I would like you to shout yourself out. Tell people how they can find you, follow you, watch you, share, comment, subscribe. Tell them what's up.
So go to youtube.com/Hard2Hurt, or if you just search Hard2Hurt on YouTube, you will find all my videos there. We do self-defense techniques, you know, fitness tips, a lot of strength training stuff, also a lot of techniques, a lot of applying sport techniques to a self-defense scenario, and also the considerations, the stuff that wouldn't work or the things that are different. And also, I swear a lot, I cuss a lot, and I do parodies of famous martial arts YouTubers, and there'll be more coming soon. I'm going to have to do a McDojoLife parody soon.
All right, you just got to remember, you got to shave this part, okay? Just make it look good.
Where are you from?
I'm from Florida.
Florida? Okay, because I always have to do my study on your backstory so I can get the accent right. Eli Knights was the hardest accent ever to do because that guy's accent is like all over the place.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I appreciate you having me on. I really appreciate you having me on. It was good talking to you, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you again. I really appreciate that. And I should have this up in the next day or two. So if you could do me a favor, if you could send me like a headshot of like just you with a background that's just a solid color. That way I make a thumbnail for it. That'd be appreciated. So
cool.
All right, man. Well, I will catch you later. You have a fantastic day.
All right, man. Later.